Welcome to the Landmark Theater's Q&A podcast. In this podcast, you will hear a discussion with director Jean-Marc Vallée, screenwriter Bryan Sipe, and actor Judah Lewis from the film Demolition, moderated by Access Hollywood's Scott Mantz. Recorded at the Landmark West LA.
Well, the first question is always kind of a cliche, but in this
Where
case,
did it come from?
Well, hang on. This is a really interesting cliche because this is more than just a where did it come from. Like, why was this like a soul cleansing screenplay for you to write? Why was this such a personal story?
Well, I did this work. I did demolition work probably from 17 to 21 or so. So I was swinging a sledgehammer and smashing shit and tearing down houses, and there's something cathartic about that, but there's also something really lonely about it. So I found myself in this place where I thought I'm never going to get out of this life, But I did, and I found my way out here, and then all of a sudden I thought I'm never going to get my way out of this life. I was just failing, and in the same way I'm looking around at the world and thinking there's got to be something more to this, and there was something apathetic about that, and that's where the voice came from, and I just followed that voice.
But this was also a screenplay that you sort of started and you like left town and had a different experience and you came back and finished it. There's a whole backstory here.
The parts of that are true. Yeah, I definitely left town. I definitely threw in the towel. But I had finished the script, and I just wasn't working. I wasn't getting paid. I didn't get paid to write this movie. I didn't get paid until the first day of production. So there was a lot of time in between, just working in the bar and trying to figure out what to write next and what my voice was, and then I wrote this script and I thought, this is great, this is my voice, and it got me lots of meetings, and I didn't work after that. So somewhere along the way, I said, that's it, I'm done. I threw my dog in my truck and I started driving north, and I stayed up there for a while, and then I came back, and then I went to Portugal because I thought, why not? I'm just going to keep charging my credit cards, and I came back and I was $40,000 in credit card debt, and I had no job, and I had no idea what I was going to do. I had quit the bar job, and my manager who was here called me. I remember I was at lunch with a friend who was also here, and he said, I just sold this script that you wrote a year ago. It wasn't Demolition, it was this spec pilot that I wrote, and he said, I sold it to NBC. And all of a sudden I wasn't in debt anymore.
Well, how long from the time that you finished the screenplay to the time that Jean-Marc Vallée first took a gander at it?
6 years.
6 years.
I read it in 2011, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
long time.
What took so long between 2011 to it finally getting made?
It's what a crazy adventure, huh? When you think of it. What took so long? I guess it's the nature of the nature of the script. I mean, it's a special one. It's a unique one. It's very rare you have this kind of material on your table, and I flipped for it, and it was on the blacklist, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
The blacklist is.
What is the blacklist for people who don't know?
It's the scripts that aren't produced in the industry here, and they're good. They have good reputation. People love these scripts, but for some reason they're still being unproduced. So why was Demolition there? I don't know. I guess my take was because it was different, because it was proposing, it was another proposition of cinema where it was unexpected, irreverent by moment, and you don't know where it's going. You wonder if you care about the character, but yet you turn the page and you want to go on and go on. And I laughed out loud. I cried at the end, and I read it again. I laughed and cried, wondering why am I so touched by this story? And I don't know. There was something about it. I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to honor his vision, his courage to write something so different, something so beautiful. It shows that it comes from the heart and soul of a. It shows that it comes from the right place, I guess. And I hope the film is pay tribute to your words, man.
He knows I got a lot of friends here tonight.
There you go.
How did the script evolve from the time that you first started showing interest in it to what we saw? Like, how did it change from the version that you first saw?
It's very close to what was on the page, except for some little details, and music-wise, I put I worked on every project. I try to bring put a directorial approach into the project, and but still in collaboration with Bryan, and it was an evolving one, from the screenwriting to the casting. I remember I had this idea casting Julia, this actress, because in the script, Bryan had this concept, this idea of not showing Julia, and we all went for it, and we loved it. Mm-hmm. And then when we met this girl, she was so good, and there was something so emotional about her that I went, why don't we write her some scenes, and why don't she's more present? And then we tried it, and then if we don't like it, we'll go back to the original concept, and then in the cutting room, we try stuff. It's always evolving,
Sure.
With music, with editing, then shooting, and actors. The way they react, the way they act between them. And
Well, I want to read a quote that I heard you say about someone, Jean-Marc Vallée. You said, "Judah Lewis is a revelation." I love that word, revelation. This kid is a rock star. And you are a rock star in this movie, actually. So gifted and natural. How did you find this gentleman who just gave like a fantastic performance, holding his own, by the way, against Jake Gyllenhaal, Naomi Watts? Let's hear it for Judah Lewis, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, wow.
Thank you.
How did this come about for you?
I was introduced to him through Jessica Kelly, the casting director, who introduced us to so many great actors. I mean, the cast in the film. I'm so happy and proud, and so he was in L.A. She met 13, 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid from New York to L.A., different places, even Boston. She went national and to find la perle rare, the rare. Pearl, and here he is tonight. Wait till he talks.
Oh God.
Say something, Judah. Say something.
Hi.
Well, how was this experience for you? I mean, you really went for it. You didn't hold back. You went to 11. If you saw Spinal Tap, you know what that means, and you do know what that means.
I do know what that means.
But so how was that for you? I mean, this is a real breakthrough role, real big role for you, and working with Jake, working with these writers, directors. I mean, how was that for you?
It was surreal. I mean, it really was. The opportunity to be able to work, with these minds is, just something that you never imagine you'll actually be able to do. And I think that, everything just came together, and I can say, this script, I mean, I remember just reading that script and just absolutely falling in love with it. It's so unconventional and so against anything that I had seen before. And, it's interesting. I feel like what we see, really often nowadays is kind of a stereotype of a kid, and it's very romanticized and not necessarily truthful. And so to be able to play a character that's just real and just there, and everything about him, you could go out in the world and meet somebody who is that, and he's struggling and he's trying to find himself. And I think that's so absolutely rare.
What kind of research did you do to play someone who was going through such a complex transformation, emotionally and physically?
Interestingly enough, I tried not to do too much research because I didn't want to play to anything that had been done before or anything that existed. I really wanted to, take this kid for who he is, which is just confused, and really, try to step into his shoes and see the world as he did.
Wow. I mean, so well spoken. I mean, tell me about working. I mean, you get to work with powerhouse actors like Jake Gyllenhaal, Naomi Watts. What was your first meeting like with Jake? I mean, what was your takeaway from that meeting? Because you both are fantastic in this movie.
Well, interestingly, my first day was that demolition scene where we're destroying that. Yeah, I walked onto set and was handed a sledgehammer. So, I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, yeah, mine and Jake's first 2 days together were just absolutely destroying this house. So I think after that, we were just buddies.
That must have been fun, actually. Just going for it.
So fun.
Well, Jean-Marc Vallée, how did you, after Dallas Buyers Club with Jared Leto and Matthew McConaughey, and then Wild with Reese Witherspoon. I mean, you're on a roll, evolving your own style and films. And tell me about working with Jake Gyllenhaal. I mean, he really goes for it, just like your other actors did in your other films.
It's funny that you mentioned style because I'm not aiming for style, and we weren't aiming for style. I mean, it was always aiming for something that looks real and true and beautiful and touching. Try to touch people, try to make them laugh, make them cry, provoke them, and the script had all these elements, and so we shoot, in a very minimalistic way, available light and handheld. We can shoot 360 degrees. I ask the crew to get out of the set so we can turn and the actors can use the space, and how it was to work with Jake and the others. But on this one with Jake and Judah, the same. It's fun, how we create a space of freedom and we just try stuff. And of course we're staging, it's a fiction, but there's a feeling of just observing and doing documentary, like the Demolition. We knew we had a plan, we had a scene that Bryan wrote, but then you had the tools, and we had one house, and we built an extension. It was a one-take deal. Once they were starting to demolish the shit out of the kitchen, if we missed it, well, we had to demolish something else, because we didn't have, so it's just capturing and observing and trying not to interfere and try to see, you trust the storytelling, which was amazing on the page, and then you trust the actors, and we're the first audience on the set. And the more I shoot, the less I want to interfere, and I want to let the shots breathe as long as possible. And I'm not cutting good performances; they're doing. So I try to let the shots, and I mean, this guy it's such a natural, and the hardware scene, the dancing, so emotional, so much range, and all done so with such simplicity and humility. And I keep repeating, this is such a great example of team effort.
Yeah, this is a team effort, and the way that, I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal has just been making great movies for, wow. I mean, I remember seeing October Sky with Jake and Chris Cooper, who were in this movie. That was 1999. So, but just Jake Gyllenhaal, he just is so committed, and so are you, and so is Naomi in this movie. So tell me, how did they get involved with developing their characters, or did they just take it straight from the page?
That was his world. He creates this space for his actors. They don't do any sort of preparation. Like he was saying, he keeps things very loose. There's no marks. There's no storyboards. There's no shot list. It's just show up. Please don't rehearse. No, there's no rehearsals. And I've, Jake would tell you that was something that's scary, because it's freedom. This is your space, go wherever you want to go. And it's like, whoa, hold on a second, I can do anything, and I always say that it's like watching, like rock musicians coming together, and they don't know exactly what they're going to play together, but he sort of sets the tone, and in the beginning sometimes it's a bit of a racket, but then all of a sudden everybody starts playing in tune with each other, and by the time he calls cut, it's like, holy shit, how did he do that?
So you actually shot the demolition. Did you shoot all the demolition of the house scenes first, or did you just sort of like shoot a little first and then go back and shoot a little more just to get the house out of the way?
No. We shot everything in 1 hour and 15 minutes. It was totally demolished. And then the next day we did the bulldozer scene where Jake learned how to drive a bulldozer and demolish the house. And Bryan was watching like a kid, because he wrote that. It comes from his mind. I wrote this.
Was Jake the first pick for the role of Davis?
We sent the script to 10 A-list actors at the same time, and Jake is the only one who responded so passionately, viscerally, and positively. All the others passed, and he's the only one that went, I really want to do this.
All right.
So his response to the material was, for us, so obvious, and also the face he has. He has an intelligence, he has some depth, he has a goodness, he's handsome, and then there's something sad also.
How fast was this shoot? You seem to work pretty quick.
Not that I want to work quick, but since we're shooting handheld and we're shooting available light, and so of course it's quicker, but we shoot not even 3 pages a day. We shot this film in 34 days, so the script was 105 pages approx, at the end, and when we started to shoot the production version of the script, because once we got his version, then it's confronted to reality. The reality being we shoot in New York, we have these locations. Why don't we try? Can we lose the school? Because Judah's expose on Iraq and the presence of military was taking place at a school. We cut that location. Bryan wrote it in a place where at Karen's place, because he was kicked out of school, but at the beginning it wasn't like that. So we just adapt. See again, the answer to your question. How does it evolve? Well, it's always like that from one project to the other. It's confronted to the reality of production.
Judah, what did you learn from Jake as an actor? Like, did he sort of give any pointers, or did you just sort of like pick things up from his style that you're like, I think I'm going to emulate that?
Yeah, for me, I think it was about watching him, and he brings this kind of subtlety and this realism to his characters that I think is incredibly special. And so you kind of are in a scene with him, and you're in your character, but I could pick up little tiny things that he was doing that are so subtle and so small, but the impact that they have, are huge. So I think it was really a lesson, on subtlety.
Did he give you like any advice? Because you're say like, hey, as you're moving forward with your career, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, anything like that?
I don't know. I think for me it was really about immersing myself in the material, and kind of walking through the path of our characters together, and really growing as our characters did.
How about Naomi? Because they're different actors. But did they have like different styles that you sort of picked things up from him and picked other things up from her?
I don't know. Interestingly enough, I didn't work with Naomi too much. I think we only had a few days of filming together, but she's lovely. She really is. I remember my first day, I met her and she gave me a hug and she said, "Hi, I'm sorry I have to be mean to you now."
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Demolition is in theaters now. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the movie.
Thank you for my friends for coming.
For this wonderful panel. Thank you so much.
Cheers.